Good evening. I hope you guys are doing well today. This is the second video for our article analysis. The goal of this video is to do a really quick review from last time, and then to look at the introduction paragraph, and then the in order and because statements of body paragraphs. If you guys remember, we're looking at Steve Inskeep's article. It's 1856 all over again, from the New York Times, written and published on January 9th, 2020. We first looked at the FIC graphic organizer, identifying the facts of things that are literally happening in the text. In this case, Steve Inskeep is asking questions about how the past can reflect the present, and he focuses on the election of 1856. We looked at the interpretation, how we can use those facts to help us to understand a little bit more, and we kind of apply how the author is writing this text to reach eventually the central idea. And we said the central idea was the past repeats itself, careful what you repeat. We looked at the tone shift from the first part of the article to the second part of the article, with the last four paragraphs being more reflective than the first one. We looked at EasyBib in citing documents, and then we talked about what it should look like, how an author is writing, and why they're writing that. And your job is to fill the gap between those two. We looked at tone, we looked at appeals, and lastly, we looked at a brief outline, what an outline would look like if we are writing an analysis about this. So let's look at it. The first thing I want to point out to you guys, the MLA format. Notice how it's last name and page number. It's the same font and size of font as the rest of the paper. There's the MLA heading, my name, or the student's name, your student's name, my name, the class number, the class, and the date, and then the title. I see this all the time. Sometimes I think you're being sneaky. Probably most of the time you're being sneaky. But there's one space between the heading and another space between the title and the body. There's a couple things I want us to look at. The first part of the assignment is for you to summarize the article. That's it. Just really give a very brief summary. Let me read the first paragraph and I'll kind of break down what I'm looking for. In his opinion article, it's 1856 all over again, Steve Inskeep compares and contrasts the 1856 political climate to modern day politics. Throughout the article, Inskeep narrates the struggle of the 1856 political scene as the impending Civil War draws near. This narrative reveals major connections to the present. Technology, fear-bait, partisan politics all relate to our modern-day narratives. Inskeep, however, isn't interested in the politics of the past. Quote, the true meaning of the story is in its aftermath. He is interested in what we can learn from those derisive times and what we can hope for beyond our own. So there's probably 5 sentences in this entire intro paragraph. All of that summarizes what he's writing, who he is, who the author is, the title of the article, what he's writing, and then his goal. What's the point of it? His goal, the central idea, is to look at how the past can help us today. That's it. That's all you need. So when you're looking at your editorials, the ones that you're finding, do the same thing. Identify the author, identify the title, identify the central idea. Be as brief as you can. Anything beyond this, you're going to move to summary, and then it's just not analysis anymore. You're telling me about the facts of the piece when we're looking for the interpretation. One really easy way for us to enter into analysis is to think, what choices are the authors making and why are they making them? And that's where these statements, the in order and because statements, I highlighted all of them in this paragraph because I want you to read it and then to see what choice the author is making, why he's making that choice, and what's the result of it. So if we look at the first one, I'm moving chronologically from the beginning of the article to the end of the article. I picked just 3 or 4 main facts from beginning to end, and that's what I'm going to focus on. First, Inskeep's argument depends on a simple organization. He narrates his arguments in order to reveal the story behind the main event. All the political moments, the rhetoric, the individual politicians are meant to tell the story whose ultimate goal pivots into the election of 1865 and the Civil War. So that's what he's doing. The author, Steve Inskeep, is narrating his argument. If I can get my really cool highlighter. There we go. He's narrating the argument in order to reveal something else. That's why he's doing it. And he's doing that because his narrative is helping him argue that we can learn something from the past. Now, this is really meaningful because we're looking at what the author is doing and why they're doing it. So we want to think about those in order statements because of this. How are they trying to reach that central idea? And then you can look at the rest of this analysis on Google Classroom, but this is what I'm looking for. We can look at tone if we wanted to. The author keeps this attitude towards the subject or shifts the tone from X to Y in order to drive home the reflection that he wants his audience to do. He wants his audience to reflect because that's going to be meaningful for them to vote for their particular candidate that they want. So in order to and because. Don't forget, you need to pick an editorial, something from the last month or so, and you need to look at that argumentative piece. This matters because on the SATs, hopefully you guys are thinking about retaking the SATs when they bring them back up again. But this matters because this is really what you're doing on the SATs. You're looking at how the author is writing and why they're writing in that way and what's the effect of that. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited for Pilot Week. I'm excited for when we get back from spring break. We're going to read The Great Gatsby and Death of a Salesman. You guys are awesome. As always, like and subscribe. Happy reading.